Good evening, everyone. I'm Ridma Jasundara and welcome you all to the 22nd Computer Engineering Seminar organized by the Department of Computer Engineering at University of Peradeniya. Today, we'll be discussing the structure of software programming languages, different types of programming languages, and some popular programming languages in the software industry. We'll also be exploring why and when someone should choose one programming language over another. To introduce our guest speaker today, I'd like to share that Mr. Lahiru Dharmasena has been working in the software industry for 16 years. He graduated from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura in 2006 and has worked on software systems related to finance domain, embedded software, and enterprise resource planning solutions. In 2017, he completed his master's degree on e-learning systems from the University of Colombo. Currently, he is working as a technical architect in the identity and access management domain. Before we begin, I'd like to remind to the audience that if you have any questions for our speaker, please feel free to ask them during the Q&A session in the end. Mr. Dharmasena, welcome to the session, and we are excited to hear from you.
Thanks, Ridma. And I welcome you all for today's session. Let's discuss about the programming languages and industry expectations from an entry-level software developer. Let me share my screen. Yeah, and Ridma gave a very good introduction about me, so I'll skip this part. Basically, I have worked in different programming languages throughout my career, from VB6 to Java to Python, and some other languages as well. So these are the main languages which I have worked with, from VB6, C, C++, JavaScript, PHP, Perl, and C# as well. And these are some of the framework which I have worked closely. We'll discuss about the frameworks as well in a few minutes. Let's go into the programming language. What is programming language? It's actually a way of giving instruction to the computer to perform something, some task. So as in any language, you can see the syntaxes, which are the keywords and the structure. So this is not typically common for the programming language. This is common for any human language as well. So we have words and the way of structuring those words. We call them grammar in English. So same thing applies for the programming languages as well. It has keywords and way of arranging those keywords. So that part we called syntax, forming the structure. But the other part of programming language or any other language is the semantic. That gives the meaning. So you can form a sentence grammatically correct, but sometimes it doesn't have meaning. As it's applied for the programming languages as well, you can write something which is correct in the syntax, which will compile as well, but if that is not having some meaning, it won't do the work it's intended to do. So you have to think about the semantics as well to give you a better understanding. This is a code which has semantic error. This is a Java code. I'm not sure whether I believe you are familiar with Java. So in here, you can see all the keywords and the structure is correct in the program, but there's no meaning for this print because the execution will end when the system exists. So there's no meaning for this part, even though it's grammar. I mean, the syntax is correct, structure is correct, it's compiled, but it doesn't have meaning. So these type of things are semantic errors. So when you're writing programs, you have to focus on the meaning as well, what the program intended to do, and not only about the syntax and the structure. So there are other things common to the program languages. I think in the academic, you are learning all about those data structures and the algorithms. So I'm not going to go into that level in the program. I'll discuss about the other factors around the programming languages. So I told you about few of the framework which I am familiar with. So framework is actually a software already built and provide help for application developers to build their application. So it's provide the underlying background or the scaffolding for the software development. So many times when you are developing applications, you have to use framework. Otherwise, that application development work will be very complex. So framework will provide few things uh, to ease out the development work. So it provides the basic scaffolding and it provides the flow control. If you take particular web application, so it will provide all the network related things, port opening to communicate with the outside. And when a request come, like how that get into the correct function or the controller. So all those will be provided by the framework itself. So you don't really need to write specific code to get that work done. It's readily provided by the framework. And other thing is framework will provide other type of libraries, utilities, which we can incorporate into your application development. Uh, the security related libraries, encoding related libraries, and many other things, many other uh, data structure as well. So those are provided by the framework itself, and it most of the framework provide a way to change the behavior as well. What the framework provides, so it provides a basic behavior in the framework, but it also provide a way to most of the framework provide a way to if you need to alter the behavior or make addition to those behaviors. It provides ways to do that. So it provides basically extensibility. Um, so if you are choosing a programming language, most of the time you will choose a framework to develop application using that programming language. Um, so we'll discuss about some of the popular programming languages and the use cases where you can use a particular programming language and related framework you can also use. And apart from framework, there's something called IDE as well, that tool you can use to develop the application. Uh, so we'll talk about those IDs as well. Um, so let's take the most popular programming language. So Java. Um, I'm sure like all of you have heard of or like using Java. So Java is very popular because it's very versatile and it supports most of the use cases you found in the software industry. It can use for the to develop the web application, can use to develop the mobile application or desktop application, and it can also use to develop embedded systems, systems that you find in many devices. So Java is very versatile language. Because of that, it's very popular. So one advantage of Java is uh, the Java code you write, it can run basically in any platform because it has something called JVM, Java Virtual Machine. The code you write is actually run on top of the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So Java Virtual Machine will handling the communication with the OS or the operating system. So you don't really need to worry about the OS specific communication between the application because JVM is handling that part. So the code you write, it will run on any JVM, particularly built on for any OS. So it has that advantage as well. That's why it's also popular. And one thing is Java mostly backward compatible, which means you can run your old code in new Java uh, versions because in the new Java versions also it's backward compatible and support the old uh, old libraries. Uh, then other thing is since many developers using Java, there's a very big community as well. So you can get community support when you face an issue, as well as they build lots of libraries. And there are a high number of frameworks as well that you can choose. Uh, so as of the disadvantages, one thing is comparatively like Java use little bit memory. And if you take the code, it is strict typing and each keyword has its own meaning. And when you look at the code, it seems a bit complex. And if you take the GUI, which provide like if you use Java to develop desktop application, the GUI Java provides is not that great. So those are some of the disadvantages. And these are the popular frameworks developers choose when they're developing Java applications. Spring and Spring Boot for the web development, and Hibernate, Play. Those are the few popular frameworks. Uh, then let's look at another type of popular language, which is Python. It has a different use case if you compare to the Java. Python is also very popular, especially among the data science and the AI related developments and machine learning related developments. Python is very popular. And Python also like using for the scripting as well to when you are developing utility applications or deploying related activities, you typically use Python. Python is very easy to learn language, and it supports dynamic typing. Dynamic typing in the sense runtime, it's figure out the variable type, so you don't really need to specify the type when you are coding. So it with that like it lesser code and it's readable and it's also like flexible and fits many type of applications, especially in the data science field. As disadvantages, it's execute in a single thread, so you don't have you get the power of like multi-threading with Python. And it's not natively compatible with some of the OSs, especially the mobile OSs, iOS or Android. So you cannot use Python for those mobile development. And if you talk the frameworks, there are lots of framework right now available for the Python development. Django, Flex, Web2Py. So those are a few popular frameworks. So JavaScript, this is something you cannot avoid if you are developing web applications. Basically, JavaScript, the main scripting language for the client applications, which runs on the browser. So if you are into web development, this is a language you must learn. Java supports both the front end and the back end as well. There are frameworks like Node.js. I think you're familiar. So same language, JavaScript, can be used for the backend processing as well with Node.js. And once you learn it, so you can use it for the client-side development or the front-end development, as well as the server-side development or the back-end development. In the disadvantage side, it's has less strict rules, which means developer have the flexibility to write different styles of coding, but it's tend to lead bad code practices, as well as if something not working properly, it's hard to debug as well. And there are a few security vulnerabilities in JavaScript libraries as well. So it's giving problems in the client-side development. So those are a few of the disadvantages, but nevertheless, it's the only scripting available in the client side. So if you are doing any web development, you have to learn the JavaScript and get familiarized with the syntaxes and all that. And there are popular frameworks for the backend, Node.js, for the front end, Angular, React, and Vue. So those are few of the popular JavaScript libraries or frameworks available. And there are many other popular frameworks as well. So let's talk about the C, C++. So this C and C++ were the popular language during 80s and 90s. And this is also a popular language even right now if you are into the system development, operating system development, or if you're developing high-performing application, desktop application, and embedded systems. This is the programming language you will be choosing, particularly because it has very much control over the low-level assemblies or communicating with the OS, because it doesn't have intermediate layer. So it gives very much control over how to allocate memory, how to access in memory, those type of low-level operations. And performance-wise, it is also good because it's running directly with OS libraries. And since this was the language which developers use for a very long time, it has very rich library support and the community support as well. There are programmers who are using C, C++ for this type of development. So good community support as well. In the disadvantage side, one thing is with that great control, the memory allocation, deallocation, reading memory, all those things. If you do something wrong, it leads to problem which hard to diagnose. Sometimes memory leaks, and also open door to a security risk because C has something called pointers. You can point directly to a memory space and read the value or manipulate that value. So it leads security risk as well. And learning curve is high because of the complexity of the programming language. If you take C, it's not really object oriented, more into structured programming. So it's a little bit complex and the learning curve is a bit high. There are a few frameworks available for the development, .NET, Qt, KDE, if you are into the C++ development. And this is another popular language, C#. This is the Microsoft product and their flagship programming language. And their .NET framework. So C# is really bound to the .NET framework. So C# can be used for many types of application developments, and it is versatile as well. You can use it for the web application development, mobile application development, desktop application development, but it is not used for the embedded systems typically. So in the advantage side, syntax are quite readable, simple, and now it supports the cross-platform capability as well. Earlier it was like .NET framework itself running only on Microsoft OS, Windows. But now with the .NET Core, it supports the other OSs as well, Linux and iOS. So it has the cross-platform capability as well. And since it's Microsoft, they have very strong documentation, and also there's a good community as well around .NET C# development. And they also provide regular updates, the framework updates, security updates, all those things happening. So those are the advantage of using C#. And in the disadvantage side is like it doesn't really interact with the OS or the hardware directly. So that's a disadvantage if you're using C#. And it's tightly depend on .NET framework. And on the framework, like you have the .NET for the web application development and the desktop application development or the console related program development, and Xamarin specifically for the mobile application development. And let's talk about a little bit about the PHP. So this is specific for the web application development. It doesn't support any other type of development. So, but if you are building web application, this is a very good choice. And there are many popular web applications which was like developed using the PHP. So it has a very powerful web backend language and stable and maintainable. And PHP also a very easy language to learn. You can learn it very fast and start building applications. And good community around PHP as well, and huge number of frameworks and libraries also available for the PHP development. In the disadvantage side, since it's only can use web application, if you have to develop anything, you have to learn another language. And you cannot override the PHP core behaviors. It's basically strict. So you have to find another alternatives if you have to do anything. And debugging is not that great in the PHP because PHP basically more of a scripting language, and there are limitations. So those are some of the disadvantages. If you take frameworks, there are high number of frameworks which give good support. Laravel, Symfony, and other type of frameworks are available if you are into the PHP development. So Go is a language pretty much new and young. So this is the language introduced by Google, basically for the web application development, DevOps, and the network application development. It has specific dedicated network APIs. If you are into the network programming, it's very easy to use Go because it has inbuilt capabilities. And it's also easy to learn, fairly easy to learn. And performance-wise, it's good. In the disadvantage side is since it's a new language, there's the libraries or the framework available is not that rich if you compare to the other languages. Community support also a little less because there are not enough developers who are using the Go. But this will change, I think, in future as many of the developers like come into the Go. The other part is it's not quite descriptive compared to the Python or any other language. So in order to do something, you have to write several steps. So it makes like lengthy codes as of now. So that's again a disadvantage. Framework-wise, there are few frameworks available like Ravel or Digo. There are other frameworks as well. These two are the popular ones. So I hope like in the industry, there will be many developers who start developing Go or the Golang language. And once it become popular, I think some of the disadvantages will go out. And SQL, I put the SQL as the programming language. It's not actually a programming language, it's a query language. But this is something developers has to learn if they are working with any relational database system. Because almost every RDBMS is using some type of SQL. If you take the MS SQL, it's using the TSQL. And if you take Oracle, it's using the PLS SQL. Two different variants, but in the background, it's using the same SQL language. So pros are like syntax. Once you learn the syntax, and there are few number of syntaxes as well. Then it's relatively common for the most of the RDBMSs, those syntaxes. So and it is easy to learn, and it is used to control the data or manipulate the data, as well as the given commands to the database operation. And this will be a supplementary skill for your programming. Almost every time when you are developing a commercial application, you have to, if you are choosing the RDBMS as your persistence data store, then you have to use the SQL to interact with the data, read the data, write the data, all those operations. In the disadvantage side, so SQL really rely on the database engine, and you cannot like try it out without the database engine. And it has limited capabilities, only the data manipulation and the data operation. There are few RDBMSs very much popular. Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Oracle, so few of them. And if you are into the native mobile application development, Swift is very popular. one. So it also, you can also use that suite for the desktop application as well. So this is pretty much uh, for the iOS related developments. Uh, because of that, the popularity is little bit moderate because you can use it only for the mobile application and the desktop application development. And uh, advantage wise, performance is good and easy to learn, and the code complexity is low, so it's more readable. Uh, in the disadvantage side, so it has poor interoperability with third-party tools, and it doesn't support cross-platform. It's pretty much on the iOS. There are a few frameworks if you are into the Swift development, but this is the popular mobile application development language. Okay, that's it for the programming language. If you have any questions, you can ask. If not, I'll switch into the other part of the this session, that is to talk about the industry expectation from an entry level software engineer. Uh, so, what does software industry expect from you when you are graduated out, or like when you are looking for an internship? So, these are the things pretty much industry expect from a software engineer. So most of you, I think, you're thinking if you have good understanding about the coding and the technology, that will be enough. But that's not the truth. So this is one part of your skill set, the coding or the technical capabilities, knowing the application development. It's one part. There are a few others also which are important. So first thing is the analytical thinking. So when something given to you, you have to think logically and reasoning out. It can be a development work, or it can be a, uh, figuring out what's the issue. It can be a defect, anything. So industry needs some the people who are like think rationally, logically. So analytical thinking is very important, and this will be needed if you are success as software engineer in the industry. So uh, you have to sharpen that skill, how to think logically, how to think rationally, how to find the root cause of something, and how to find why something behaves in that way. So this is very important. And the other important thing is the communication. Communication, not only talking or be able to convey the message to the others. It can be senior developer, it can be project manager, it can be anyone. So that's correct. You should be able to effectively communicate your understanding, your problem, or your anything. You should be able to talk with them and get things clear. That's one part. And you should be able to raise concerns as well. You should be able to brave and raise concerns and your thought. And if you are not clear about the requirements or anything, you have to ask about it and communicate at the right time. So you have to improve those skills. So because software development is a teamwork, so you have to engage with each and every member on the team. It's not on your own. You are doing your part and passing that out to the other person. So as a team, you have to engage and develop in software industry, and you have to communicate with different people. There are product managers, there are clients, um, there are other technical teams involving. So you have to communicate with them, get the requirements clear, and tell them your understanding about the problem and provide your solution, and even like providing diagrams and documentation also part of the communication. So it's very important in the industry. Um, and the attitude, the next important thing, you should be passionate about the thing, the work you are doing. So you should have positive attitudes towards the work, and um, um, actively participate on the teamwork, and those type of attitudes will build a good software engineer. So these are something you have to sharpen. And the other important thing is the work ethics. So in the software industry, it doesn't matter whether you work in the software industry or you work alone. Work ethics will play a big role. Things like if you are working on the industry, uh, adhering to their policies. So if they have like time to start work or end work, adhering to that will be necessary. So depend on the company's policy. Each company has different policies, but adhering to those is needed. And the way you communicate, and you have to like promptly communicate. And um, those things, those work ethics. It doesn't matter like if you are doing your own project as well, if you're working with a client, so you have to build a good relationship with the client. So work ethics will help to build that one. So uh, not only focusing on the technical skill development, knowing how to write code, how to uh, build application, and all those things equally important to sharpen the other skills as well. It will bring you a good career path to progress in the industry. And similarly, in return, what you can expect from the industry as well. And most of the companies, if you are joining as a intern or a junior, the entry level software engineer, uh, they will provide training on the systems and platform and products which they are building right now or maintaining. So they will be providing a good understanding about the systems and the products that they are using, because they want you to get that understanding, and so you are familiar with the changes that you need to do when they are given the job the work for you. So that's one thing. Then companies sometimes provide specific training for the specific language or technology. If those are not really available outside, or else if they think you are not having enough knowledge on that, and at that point, companies will provide specific training on a particular technology or language. But this cannot, you can expect all the time from all the companies. Sometimes in the interview itself, they see who's having enough knowledge about a particular software or technology to work on. So keep it in your mind. And they will provide guidance or the information or knowledge about the software development and related practices, because they know you have the academic knowledge, but you are not having much experience on software development and its practices, especially the related activities around the software development, things like writing unit tests and writing other automation testing and all those things, and other practices like DevOps related practices, how to deploy software into a particular environment. Because most of the time you are familiar developing applications and run it in on your local machine. So company will provide guidance and training on those aspects as well. And this is something you will be getting a lot of input from the senior developers as well when you are joining to the company. And most of the time you will be get knowledge on pair programming, because most of the time senior engineer will work with you, giving input about the approach that you are taking and changing the behavior, some of the behaviors, and improving your code and improving your thinking pattern. So all those will happen with the pair programming. So this will depend on the company, but most companies will assign senior developer to work with you to give you the knowledge. And similarly, they will mentor you to become a good software engineer who can work independently. And you will be getting code reviews. Seniors will review your code as well as give you an opportunity to review the other team members' code as well. So you will get that experience as well to see different type of thinking, and you will get to know how to do a code review and what are the things you need to look at when you are doing the code reviews, and what are the best practices. All those things you will get experience, and you will get experience on the other IT processes. So if you take the software development life cycle, it's not only the code development, it has other parts as well. From the requirement gathering to the analysis to the deployment and maintenance. So all those processes, typically in the industry, there are processes defined for each activity. So you will get to know about them if you are joining to the company in the industry. Sometimes if you are joining to the startup or any other thing, or you are working on your own, you won't get to know these processes, but in the most major companies, they have processes implemented. So you will get to know all the tools and those processes. Then those are things like when you join to the industry, that you are getting. So these are some things you can do in meantime when you are preparing for the internship, for your first job. So one thing is get more experience developing. You can choose a particular programming language. So in the programming language, many programs have the same structure, same syntax. So if you know one programming language, it's very easy to switch into a different programming language. So you can choose a popular programming language and start building applications. It can be a simple thing. Then you can progress into more complex things. But start developing things on your own and use GitHub as the repository for your project. So when you are going to an interview, you will be having projects which can showcase, and it will showcase the code itself and your thinking pattern. So use the GitHub as the repository for your project and participate for the discussion as much as possible in popular forums like Stack Overflow. When you are doing projects, you will come problems, you will face issues. So ask questions about them, not just read similar problems which other people face and find the solution. You can ask your own questions as well. And you can provide answers as well. If you know something, you can start providing answers. So it'll build good rapport around in this Stack Overflow. And it shows like you are pretty much passionate about the work and you have experience as well. And if this is something you can start like writing articles about the problems that you face in popular forums like Medium or LinkedIn. So one thing is when you are showcasing something or writing articles, it improves your documentation ability as well as in order to write something, you have to understand it first, right? So you will get more understanding about the concept as well or the problem as well. So meantime, you can start practicing. These are some of things which I think will helpful for you to land on a job or like get an internship. Okay. So if you have any questions, I can take it and give my answers to best of my knowledge.
I have questions, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you share your different experiences from an entry-level engineer to your current position?
Yes. So when I'm starting, I had some experience on building applications, especially the desktop applications using VB6. That's how I selected the interview as well because I have prior experience at university time also writing applications using VB6. So it helps me to select in the job interview. But after that, it's really based on and I got a lot of support as well from the senior engineers as well. Things which I haven't known at that time, I got that knowledge from them. And the other things like the communication part. So before that, I was like building small applications on my own. But when I joined to the company, I have to work with the team and I have to communicate with them and agree on a solution and work on it. So it's a different experience. So I got those experience in the first few years. And after that, there were different projects given. So sometimes I had to learn new language or new technology specifically to work on that particular project. So when something like given to me, I normally don't hesitate. I take that job project even though I don't have enough experience. I say I don't have enough experience, but I try to learn it and work on it. Once you are engaged and working on it, then you'll be learning it. So that's what happened most of the time. And along these years, different languages, different frameworks came. And when I engaged, I learned all those things. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So sometimes I have seen like people are reluctant to switch into a different language or different technology because they are comfortable doing work in the language or the framework or the technology that they are familiar, that understandable. But it's also okay to like get the challenge and move into to different domains. So you will have a lot of experience and you know what are the differences and all those things. So it will really helpful for grow in your career.
Yes, sir. What do you think about future trends of programming languages? Like we'll see, sorry, Python, Java, JavaScript continue to dominate the languages, or will it change? Will it be changed in the next 5 or 10 years?
Uh, it will change. New languages will come, uh, like give better performance, better coding, easy to read. Those capabilities will be given by those languages, but uh, it won't happen overnight. It will take some period. If you take C, people still use it because for those use cases, they have no like alternative language or framework came. So some languages will continue, but some will like deprecate. Uh, yeah, I'm sure like new languages like Go and Scala, those will get popularized, and there will be like many other uh, JavaScript related framework will come. But the current popular one also will be there. People will use those as well. Um, yeah, so only thing you can adapt. Uh, as I said, like if you take a programming language, the the syntaxes and the operations are pretty much similar. Basically, it's a way of instructing computers to do something. So those main primary things will remain as is. So if a new language come, you can easily adapt to that one. And yeah, I think it was the behavior in the past, so it will be the behavior in the future as well.
Yes, sir. One last question from me. How? What do you think about the effect of AI models in the software development and industry? How it will affect in the future?
Yes, I think it will play a major role. I think not to replace developers, but to support developers. So it will provide or impact in a good way. So, so right now we have IDEs and other things to support developers. So the AI also will be similar thing supporting developers and improve their efficiency. So when you are developing, you can get help from the AI as well to get the logic done or um, test that logic or validate that logic, similar to right now you are doing with the co-person, your colleague. So you will be using AI in that aspect as well to validate your thinking and solution. So yeah, AI will definitely will change the industry in positive way and helping developers to make better programs more effectively.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. So, thank you very much, Mr. Dharmesena, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Your insights into software engineering and the latest trends in the field were very informative and valuable. Um, and thank you everyone for participating in this seminar. To help us improve the effectiveness of our seminars, we would appreciate if you can take a moment to fill out the feedback forms we'll be sharing in the Zoom chat. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Dharmasena, for spending your valuable time educating us on today's topic.
Thank you for having me here and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Hope to
Uh,
see you all in our next session. Stay safe, stay tuned. Goodbye.
okay. Thanks all. Bye.